It's Raheem Hassan here again from the Automation Innovation 2014 conference. And I'm privileged to have sitting next to me Phil First, the founder and CEO of HFS Research. Phil, thank you for attending the event, speaking at the event, and spending a few minutes here with us this afternoon.
Pleasure.
So Phil, your organization has been on the forefront of this whole research area of the marketplace and the impact that robotic process automation is having. You've recently released the HFS RPA maturity model. Can you give us a brief overview of the model?
Yeah, so the market's in very nascent early phases right now. And so what we're trying to do is advise the buyers of services and operations to understand how to approach RPA, how to run beta testing, how to figure out which processes are most applicable for the model, that sort of thing. And then how do they go and investigate partners and providers, technology providers, service providers, consulting firms to help them get there. So it's really a structured way of helping people think about RPA, how to embrace it, and then how to have an end game and a long-term vision.
That sounds great. Now, you've also written about it, and you mentioned it up in the presentation, the move away from labor arbitrage to more of a as-a-service type of economy.
Yeah.
So can you give us a little bit more insight on that one?
That's right. So we've been talking about the shift for quite some time, but we were always trying to figure out what's the shift going to be to. At the end of the day, after a while, companies are going to run out of runway with how much labor can they move offshore to drive out cost and efficiency. They have to look at that next phase of value. And what is that phase of value? And the answer is a lot of it's going to be technology driven and have services weaved into that technology, which means a very different mindset that we need to look at the industry with in terms of how do we sell services and how do we buy services. So people buying services need to think about, how do I tap into expertise? How can I get access to outcome-based solutions? How can I get something that's plug and play, that's one-to-many, that's sometimes lower cost, that's easier to access, that has analytical capability, that has transformative, consultative abilities that my provider can give to me? From the provider side, they're looking at a model which is very different for them. So in the old days, it was about selling big outsourcing deals and increasing their footprint within their clients through radiating and taking on more and more labor work. Now they have to think about, how do they actually make their clients more efficient? How do they help them incorporate automation, digital technology, etc., to save money, drive better outcomes and that sort of thing. So there has to be a mind shift change with the types of services that providers are delivering. They have to look at maybe going after larger numbers of logos because they're driving cost out of their clients. They're actually selling efficiency. And so this as-a-service economy is this big shift. Now when we look out into the future, the providers who are leading this economy may not have even been founded yet. I mean, there's a very different suite of delivery companies who are coming along who take proven technology, can deliver it back to their clients, sometimes at much lower margins. Some of these providers are much smaller, they're more nimble, they're more agile. There's a big shift happening and we're going to see this industry look very different in about 3 to 5 years' time.
Well, that brings the next question in, right? So when any type of shift or disruptive impact similar to this, they're going to be winners, they're going to be losers, right? Yeah. So what's your perspective on who these winners will be and who we may not see a few years from now?
It's a very good question, and I think it's still very nascent times with RPA, for example. We only just started talking about this space about 2 years ago. The first HFS report came out about Robotistan and what it really means. Now we're just beginning to see what providers are doing in terms of making investments in technology and partnering and getting the right tools together to make this effective. So we're starting to see a few emerge. I think HP have come out as very favorably with their recent investments and performance. We're seeing companies like TCS, Sutherland, IBM, Cognizant, sort of starting to show that they're really getting ahead of the curve here and investing in the space. But end of the day, this is a technology-led transformation, and it's those providers who've got the right technology and can enable it with clients, enable it into the process, who are going to be ultimately successful. But as I said before, I do think there's going to be a new breed of provider coming along. Some of them may not have even been formed yet. Some we're just starting to see some some appearances from who are going to be very different and take on this market full steam. But it's very early days still.
Yeah, I guess as a warning to the service providers, those that don't make the pivot, they may be at risk.
That's right.
Phil, thank you for your time. I appreciate you visiting with us.